for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. She is the author of the book How to Collaborate Business Guide to Increase Profits, Build Relationships, and Stop Doing It All by Yourself. None other than Miss Tanya Fox. Welcome, Miss Tanya, Book One on One Review. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I miss?
Well, thank you first off so much for having me on the show. I absolutely love listening to it. So I'm thrilled to be a guest now, finally.
Thank you.
Um, I started my first business in 1998, so just before Google did, just to give some perspective on how long ago that was. And I
Okay.
kind of came from a corporate world. I was working in government and decided that I just didn't want to do that for the rest of my life. And so decided to branch out on my own. And, we're 26, 27 years in, and it was a good decision to make in hindsight, right? We always see it in hindsight.
Mhm.
And my first business started off as an accounting company because that's what I went to school for. That's what was working towards. And then since then, I decided to kind of branch out because I just loved being an entrepreneur. I loved the startup, the thrill, building things. And so since then, I've opened retail and franchise and service based and online businesses and kind of dabbled in a little bit of everything and had fun with it, grew some businesses and sold them, and then decided that what I really loved doing was helping other people to succeed. And that's when I moved into more of the coaching and doing some leadership training. And that's how the book started to come to be because I wanted to give the skills that I was using to advance my business to other people.
Yes, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Miss Tanya. Thank you. The title mentions stop doing it all by yourself. What is the most common emotional or psychological barrier that keeps talented small business owners stuck into solo superhero trap?
I think the biggest thing and the one thing that always comes across and people that I talk to is they say, I'm not a very creative person. I don't come up with these big grandiose ideas. I don't have the next cure for like a disease. So I don't really know if I can do this because I'm just not creative. And the truth is that we can all think outside of the box. We just choose not to see that. So I always like to tell people if you just simply walk around your house and look at if you have a cup that you are using as a pen holder, if you remember going to college and using milk crates as coffee tables, if you have ever used a pencil to keep your hair up in a bun, these are all ways that you are thinking outside of the box. And
Hmm.
so everybody has this skill. The only difference between where they are and where I am right now is simply the fact that they need to start practicing more. It's kind of like, do you know when you buy a car and then all of a sudden you see that car or that color absolutely everywhere? It's
Yes.
it's not because those cars haven't been on the road, it's
Hmm.
just because you're paying attention to it now, you're starting to see them. And collaboration and, learning to think outside of the box is the same thing. The more you do it, the more you're gonna start to pick things out and go, "Oh, I could do this, I could do that, I could use this for that." And you start to see it more because you're paying more attention to it. So I always like to tell everybody, you absolutely have all the skills you need right now to start thinking outside of the box and to start creating collaborations that cost you $0 to start with.
$0. I like that, Miss Tanya. $0. So, how is it true collaboration, as you define it, fundamentally different from a simply delegating tasks or hiring contractors? What mindset shift is required?
Really sitting down and thinking, when you think of somebody that you want to work with, it really has to be a win-win situation. So what are you both going to get from it? And what happens a lot is people get into the mindset of how can I give? I need to give, 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 give because they don't, that's just what you're sort of supposed to do. And so I always remind people that it is okay to receive in a collaboration, and it's actually half of what needs to happen. You need to win and they need to win. So it's really figuring out, what do I need? What do I need for my business? What do I hate doing? There's always stuff in our business that we're like, I'm not good at this, or I just absolutely don't like doing it. And what are the things that
Yes.
are, your superpower? And that's usually what people are looking for. And often people go, well, I don't know what my superpower is. And I always say, if somebody ever says to you, how do you figure that out? That's amazing. I don't understand how you know how to do that. Like most times, that there is your superpower. And so it's really just going, this is what I have to give, and this is what I need to receive, and find the person who fills that hole for you.
Interesting, interesting. Miss Tanya, the cost of going it alone. If a business owner is hesitant, what is a tangible financial argument for collaboration? How does working alone actually limit profit potential?
Well, the truth is that there is absolutely no business that's out there that's successful that did it all by themselves. It's
Yes,
just impossible. We can't do it. It doesn't work
definitely.
that way. And so the reason I say that collaboration is so important, because as a solopreneur, when I started out, it's really lonely. Like, you're doing it all by yourself. You're dealing with, the pros and the cons of being in business. And collaboration really helps you to feel like you're not facing all of these obstacles, you're not facing all of these challenges by yourself. And you're also creating growth, not by yourself. So you're multiplying everything that you do by creating collaboration. And that allows you to grow faster, and also to grow your community around you. And, there's tons of studies out there that show when your community grows, it's easier for a business to grow, it's easier for individuals and infrastructure and all of that. So it's really about just realizing that it's more fun not to have to go through this all by yourself, both the lows and the highs. It's more fun to celebrate when you have somebody else to high five with, right?
Yes, definitely. And let's talk about the framework and the first steps. Blueprint for trust. Collaborations requires trust, which can feel risky. What is your framework for building smart trust quickly with potential collaborators to mitigate that risk?
I think the first thing is make sure that you're going after people or businesses that you truly have interest in, and letting them know, and asking those questions that let them know that you're not there just to get something for yourself. So this could be something as simple as, walking in and finding, the owner of another business and asking them, like, why did you start this? Like, where did this all stem from? What was your passion? Why are you doing what it is that you do? Because we don't get asked that a lot as entrepreneurs. We do when, if we do interviews and stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
really showing that you want to understand where they're coming from and what their goals are, and that you are there to help them succeed, as well as you succeeding at the same time. So just start having conversations with them, ask questions, and really be open to listening to what they want. Because sometimes we get in our head, right? We go in and we go, oh, I think this business needs, new window displays or needs better marketing. Meanwhile, that person's like, no, that's not what I need at all. I need a break. I need, I need somebody to show me an easy trick to getting this, one thing done. So really asking questions and listening to the answers and believing them when they tell you what it is that they need help with. Sometimes we go, oh, that's too easy, but people will say, I wish you could do this for me. And sometimes we go, well, that's too easy. Like, that wouldn't take me a lot of time at all. Because again, it's your superpower. It's really easy for you to do. But what's easy for one person can take another person weeks or hours to do. So
True.
it's just being open to that and being like, okay, yeah, I think we can do this. And realizing that you need to have input, and collaborations will always change. You always kind of start off with an idea as you approach somebody, but be open to allowing it to evolve and change and maybe turn into something bigger and better.
Bigger and better. We like that, Miss Tanya, for sure. So, finding the right partners. We should a time trap? Or where should a time trap business owner even begin to look for potential collaborators? Is it about finding contemporary skills, shared values, or access to a new audience?
I think it depends what your goal is, but I think always look right around you. Look within your community, other business people that you're already talking with. This could be, if you're a retail store, this could be your next door neighbor, somebody who's right around you. If you're an online business, is there somebody, that you follow? Is there somebody that's following you that's always really engaged and always really excited? Maybe they're a business owner that you can look at. If you are somebody who is, a B2B, who are your clients? Who are your customers that you're already working with? Some of my best collaborations have come from my clients working with people that I already have a connection to because they don't think of that, right? We kind of do different things for each other, but I go, hey, I want to bring you on to this bigger project that we have. Would you be interested in it? So it's really
Mm-hmm.
just being open to being like, who's around me, who's engaged, who's asking me questions, and really just putting the feelers out there of even just simply in a conversation of saying, hey, have you ever thought of doing a collaboration together, and see what their response is. And it kind of can feel like dating a little bit, where you're kind of like, hey, do you want to be friends? Do you want this to kind of go farther? It can feel a little awkward at the beginning, but I promise you a lot of people are usually like, me, you want to be with me? Oh my gosh, that's so exciting. So I always say just ask the questions.
Definitely ask the question, people. Don't be shy. Ask and ask. So, what are the essential questions or compatibility checks you should run through with the potential collaborator before starting a project to ensure alignment?
So the first thing is are do they have what it is that you want? So again, this goes back to understanding what it is that you have to give and what it is that you want to receive. So are those things lining up together? And then really going, is this a person I can work with? Can they see the vision of what I want? Because there's always going to be, usually, if you're the one asking to start a collaboration, you're going to kind of be the lead. You're going to be the one who's kind of overseeing everything. So it's really, having those conversations, getting to know them better and going, yeah, can I work with this person? And really keeping notes. I always tell all of my clients, keep really good notes as you're going through the collaboration, because what tends to happen is we go, maybe this, maybe this person, I was constantly having to check in on them. I was constantly having to say, hey, we had this deadline. Did you get your stuff done? But then when the collaboration ends and it's successful, we're like, oh my God, that was amazing. That was great. So, really keeping these notes to go back and go, okay, it turned out really good, but do I have the capacity to constantly have to micromanage this person and check up on them? Do I want to do that again? And maybe the answer is yes. But keeping those notes along of how you were feeling, the things that were really, really great, and the things that were maybe not so great can really help you. And then really sitting down and going, what they need, is that what I'm willing to offer? Do I both have the time, the capacity, and the resources to give them that? i- for where you are right now. Because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I have met with people and I'm like, I just don't have the capacity for that right now. But, 3 months down the road, I was like, hey, I have capacity. Let's do this project. So, really being with your honest with yourself of, what do I have time to give right now? And what am I willing to give? Because sometimes those two things don't join up together.
Yes, definitely. So let's talk about the mechanics and money. Okay, money, come to me. And I have a new podcast called Entrepreneurship 101. I want to invite you, Miss Tanya, and let's talk about business mindset, structure, and clarity. What is the minimum viable agreement or plan needed to small collaboration to prevent misunderstandings? Does it need to be a formal contract?
Not necessarily. So it really depends. I always say a contract is needed if money is changing hands in any shape or form. You should always get stuff down in writing of who's paying what and when and who's responsible. But there's a lot of collaborations that you can do that don't cost you any money at all. And we see these all the time. This could be like what we're doing right now, collaborating by, inviting other people onto a show. Podcasts do lots of collaborations all of the time. This could be something as sharing sales that you're doing. This could be even something as simple as giving recommendations. So you say, hey, I want you to be the person that I always send to. You're going to be my guy. It's always nice to have that Rolodex of people where you're like, I got a guy. You need something fixed? I got a guy. You need marketing? I got a
I got a
guy.
guy.
Right?
I
So
like that.
it's really sitting down and going, okay, what is it that I'm going to do? Who am I going to do it with? And what is it that we're going to do? So, is it going to involve money? Is it in just involving time? Is it just involving our team members working together? Once you get that figured out, then you can sit down and kind of go, okay, if there's a lot of money, and I usually say if more than $500 is passing back and forth, and you can pick whatever your minimum comfort level zone is, but I say if it's over $500, just write something down. It doesn't have to be a big, huge contract, 18 pages. It could be simply you guys sitting down saying, this is what we're going to do. This is when we're going to do it. This is how it's going to happen. And this is what we're both going to be responsible for. And, in money wise. And then this is what we're both going to be responsible for in tasks and in deadlines. And that way, there you both know what the expectations are. And in my book, I do lay some templates out for everybody that they can use to set all of this out. So everybody can kind of be on the same page. And also, you can say, hey, remember we had agreed to this beforehand. It's a lot easier than saying, hey, you're dropping the ball. You can go, hey, I'm going to send you this paper that you signed the agreement to.
Definitely. So let's get specific, Miss Tanya. You say collaboration increase profits. How does that work financially? Is it through shared resources, co-created products, joint marketing, or all of the above?
It actually is all of the above. So sometimes what happens, like I said, there's various different collaborations that you can do, but where the profit increases is one in your reach, because no matter what type of collaboration you're doing, you're reaching new audiences because you're working with somebody else. They're going to have access to people that you don't have access to, which could potentially become your customers. The other thing is if you have a product based business and you're doing a joint collaboration, like you said, based on products, you're getting sales from that. If you're doing a larger collaboration, maybe you're doing an event based collaboration, you're bringing in money, through that. But again, you're able to reach double the amount of people together, as well as together work to both get new audiences with each other. We've all seen it that, I live in a smaller town. So quite often something happens where somebody go, oh, did you go to that new restaurant that's downtown? Whatever. PJ Diners, and you're like, "No, I didn't even know it was here." And they're like, "Oh, it's fantastic. You need to go," right? So that word of mouth can result in a lot of money. And in the larger collaborations, the money is sort of built in from the beginning. You guys are doing an investment together, and then you're doing the collaboration to grow that investment for whatever it is that the collaboration is worth. So there's always opportunity there. You just need to be open to it. And sometimes you need to remember that the profit that you're getting from a collaboration doesn't necessarily come as soon as the collaboration ends. Sometimes it can be a couple of weeks, a month, or I've even seen it a year later. I just had a lady recently who did a collaboration and it had ended last year in October. And she was like, I don't really know if I got a lot out of it. And
Mhm.
just last week, she signed a $200,000 contract with somebody who was part of this group. And they were just trying to get their ducks in a row. So it really did all trickle down from that collaboration she did last year. So we just never know when it's going to come to us. And that's what I think is the most exciting thing about it is sometimes it's, we reaped these huge rewards that we wouldn't have normally had. She was just in the right room and she asked the right questions. And frankly, for her, she just said, "Hi, would you be interested in working with me?" And now her business is just going gangbusters.
Yes, and I want that 1 million contract too, Miss Tanya.
We all do, don't we?
Yes, I say money, money, come to me. Mindset for sure. So, how do we navigate the often awkward conversation about splitting revenue, costs, or equity in a collaborative venture? What is a fair and simple model to propose?
What I always suggest is you sit down when everything is fresh. So, right at the beginning, and decide what those are going to be. So, this goes for both sides of it. What if you make a lot of money and if you lose money? Because sometimes that happens too. So, if you have that planned out, and again, this is something that you would plan out and sign that you both agree this is what's going to happen, it makes it a lot cleaner at the end because you've already established who's getting what and when, right? Because if things go really, really great, you have that already written and you can always go, "Hey, this is what we agreed to." If you don't write that at the beginning, then what can happen is you get all of those emotional attachments involved. I feel like I worked harder. I feel like it was more of my audience that got into it, right? We start adding all of these layers into why we should get more of the profit. So, really sitting down and assessing, this is how much I'm putting in, this is how much you're putting in. So, this is fair. If you're both putting equal in, it should be a 50-50 split. If one person is putting more in, the split should be that way. But discuss it when things are really, really good and make that decision. If things go great, this is our plan A. If things don't go great, this is our plan B, and have those laid out.
Hmm. Lay it out, people, lay it out so that you will know each other what are the costs. So, what are the one, two essential low cost tools for platforms that make managing a collaboration seamless for non techies?
Well, I always say a notebook and a pen, and you can get a
Hmm.
lot accomplished with that. It's
That's
really just sitting down and going, okay, what is it that we're working on? So, what collaboration are we doing? Who is doing what? Are there any costs involved? And how can we mitigate those if you don't have a lot of money to spend? There are ways to work around that. Again, who is getting what? Are we sharing? Is there going to be any profit from this? And then how are we sharing that? And really keeping notes as you go along on what's happening. What worked really good? What didn't? What seemed to have, tipped the boat? Because those are all things that it's hard to go back and think of after something is done, and go, what worked? What didn't work? Like, and I've done that. I've forgotten to take my notes. And then I was like, do you remember what worked really good or what, what didn't? So I always say sit down and have meetings, depending on how long your collaboration is. Have meetings. You can have weekly, monthly, whatever works for you, and sit down and make those notes together with whoever you're collaborating. Hey, what do you think is working really good? And this could be using Google Docs and just making a simple
mhm.
form that you send out to people that just says, what do you think is working well? What do you think is not working? Where do you think we could improve? What do you think you excelled at? And what do you think you can improve on? It could just be something as simple as that.
As simple as like that. So let's talk about the client handoff. How can we collaboratively serve and share the client without stepping on each other's toes or confusing the customer? What does a smooth integrated service model look like?
So this one's a little bit of a tricky one because there's various different ways you can do it depending on, what the collaboration entails. But typically, most people won't collaborate when they offer the same service. Right? So,
True.
like, a
True.
bookkeeper usually won't collaborate with another bookkeeper, or they'll just hand over that client to the other person. So, what I always say is you need to decide what works for your business, but also what works for your clients. So, I have some of my clients that do collaborations together where they will take all of the money in and then they just source it out. So, they pay the other suppliers that are working. So, just to give you a tangible thing, I have a lady who is an accountant, and on her team, her outside team, she has somebody who does social media marketing, she has somebody who does photography, and her clients just pay her and she pays them to keep it nice and clean. So she's already made agreements with those other people of what they're going to charge her for all of her customers that she brings in. But there are some other people who go, you know what? I like to keep it just separate. So I will send them to you and you charge them whatever you want and you're responsible for collecting money. You really have to decide what you're comfortable in doing and how comfortable you are with the other person to make that decision. So decide that before you get into the collaboration though. If you are like, I don't want to handle money, that is not my thing, that is not my forte, then say that right at the beginning so it doesn't get sticky later on.
Yes, definitely. And before we wrap up our discussion for today, Miss Tanya, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people, because my abstract essay is already in sixth season. Abstract poetry in third season, and my book 101 review in sixth season as well. Comedy 101 in third season, and my food 101 in sixth season as well. Geography 101, love letters, movie 101 review, music 101 are in fifth season, Science 101, Sex 101 in its fourth season, and my baby podcast, Trivia 101, Law 101, Mental Health 101, Motivation 101, Entrepreneurship 101, and of course, Bible Verses 101. And please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Miss Tanya, selecting the model. Once you have mastered one on one collaborations, how do you scale the principle? Do it look like creating a mastermind, forming an agency, collective, or something else?
I always say when you're going to grow your collaborations, typically after the one on one, it goes into what I call complex collaborations. So that's where you're dealing with multiple people. You could have four, five, six people working on the same collaboration together. This could also be doing collaborations with larger companies. So dealing with corporations like Amazon, like Coca Cola. And starting to sort of grow and work with bigger players within the game. So there's so many things that you can do at all levels that they're really the sky isn't the limit anymore. I think like space is the limit these days.
Sky is the limit, definitely. So, Miss Tanya Fox, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your book, your advocacy, or whatever projects that you're doing right now?
Yeah, so you can find my book anywhere that you love in bookstores. You can also find it on Amazon and you can see all of the stuff that I do on my website at foxtalksbusiness.com. Daniel, it was such a pleasure and I encourage everybody make sure you go and leave a review for this podcast because it helps so much. And listen to as many episodes as you can because Daniel's the best.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm doing my best to publish all the episodes that I did. So, thank you, people. Thank you, Miss Tanya. And I have one more question. And looking forward for our entrepreneurship 101. Okay. Beyond profits and reduced workload, what is the most profound personal or business benefit you've seen emerge from embracing collaborative mindset? Is it freedom, innovation, resilience, or something else entirely?
I think for me, it made me start to realize that asking for help was the best thing I could do in my business. It was my hardest thing to do, but saying, hey, I need your help grew my profits more than anything else I've ever done.
Yes. And Miss Tanya Fox, thank you so much for your time. And please do create more books because the world need it.
Thank you.
More to come, people. See you soon.